This week we're going to have a look at social eating and also preventative eating. This is eating that we do when we're in a social occasion and we just blast through our boundaries, or we're tempted to, or when we are anticipating that we might be getting hungry and won't be near food. We might do what I call preventative eating. The link to Barb's Day 15 is below this video. The Day 16, if you will, or preventative eating material, I will be providing this week on the blog. That is not something she has written. I'm going to try to provide for you something at least as of good quality as Barb's material, which will be my challenge this week. Anyway, oftentimes we feel pressure in a social setting to eat when we're not hungry. And it's great if we can plan our hunger so that when we are at a social occasion that we'll be ready to eat and we'll be ready to enjoy the food. Now, in Barb's material on Day 15, she does use some language that mentions kind of dieting food, a good food list or a bad food list. So I want you to just kind of put in your mind the fact that, okay, she was writing it for dieters, but we can take the principles still and realize that fortunately, in Thin Within, we get to eat regular food. We don't need to bypass regular food in favor of dieting food. Okay, but the trick is, for us, we're having to eat less of it. For instance, in a social setting, sometimes, like a church cleanup day, there's free pizza provided to workers, let's say, and where many of the workers will keep coming and going and grabbing another piece of pizza throughout, an hour or two, we might find that one piece of pizza is plenty for us and we're satisfied, and so we don't get to revisit the pizza box if we want to maintain our godly boundaries. We might only need one piece. That's a common situation in a social setting, or if we're at a Bible study or at a ball game, for instance. We might find that we don't need to eat, and it's kind of disappointment to us sometimes when everybody around us is eating and we're not. So sometimes there's a sense of pressure that we need to eat in order to kind of feel like we fit in. We want to maintain our 0 to 5 eating boundaries. There's this thought that Barb brings to the forefront that often saturates our thinking, and it's this idea that life is not fair. She points out that it's based on a lie that we can believe, that life is supposed to be fair. Well, is that even true? She asks us to consider that, and she shares her thoughts on this in a very convicting way, and I hope that you find that very challenging and encouraging at the same time, because truly, if we have thoughts that are outside of God's will for us, we want to bring those thoughts to God and invite Him, see if there is any way in me that displeases you or that isn't truthful, and we want to trade that lie or that thought that we have that's outside of His will for what is good, right, true, pleasing, noble, excellent, and admirable. So what is the truth relative to this whole fairness thing, which kind of hinders us in the social eating setting? If life were to be fair, I just want to make this point right at the onset. If life were to be fair, I would deserve hell. I mean, we can talk about what food I would deserve. We don't even have to go there. What I would deserve is hell, because holy God and sinful person, I know that I do things that are outside of His best plan for me in my thinking, in my speaking, in my doing, or the things I don't do that He wants me to do and I say no. Holy God wouldn't be able to allow me into His presence if life were fair. I would be deserving of eternal separation from God. And so life is not fair, and actually I'm quite thankful for that fact that He gives me salvation through Christ. And so this whole idea that life should be fair, really we need to, Barb, it makes a compelling argument about that as well. I need to give that some serious thought. Do I really want life to be fair? No way, because if it were fair, I wouldn't be standing here right now, and I definitely wouldn't be getting to enjoy food between the wonderful boundaries of 0 and 5. So I want to challenge you this week. Keep renewing your mind, not just about your renewing of the mind goal, which you may have set or adjusted during the last 8 weeks, but ask God to show you as thoughts creep into your mind, or as they land there, obviously, what are some things I believe, God, that are not truthful, that are lies, that I need to renew my mind about? This can broaden. It doesn't have just to do with our eating. It can have to do with the people we interact with. Like for instance, if my children aren't doing, now just theoretically, if my son or my daughter doesn't come home for Christmas, I might feel like that would just be devastating. Well, what is true about that? I do not need to be taken captive by the thought that I just won't make it if they don't come home for Christmas. I miss them so much. Okay, that's just an example. Or if a certain person or a friend doesn't want the kind of friendship with them that I want with them, I can renew my mind about that. I feel like, well, I'm being rejected and I just can't take rejection, and those kinds of thoughts are runaway trains that they're going to take me captive if I don't grab a hold of them. I'm mixing my metaphors, I guess. And what I want to do is take those thoughts captive. And, the truth is, I will make it. The truth is, God never rejects me. The truth is, even if other people reject me, I have a wonderful Father in heaven who feels that who has declared that I am his precious beloved. So renew your mind with truth. Expose the lies, including the lie that life should be fair, and see if that doesn't affect you in a positive way. In Romans 8:32, Jesus says that we can know the truth and the truth will set us free. And that's a wonderful principle, and Barb makes mention of this as well. We have to be willing to do the hard work of rejecting the lies. We can't just keep telling, oh, but I deserve a donut, or I deserve a this, or whatever. Those are lies. Let's reject those lies and embrace instead the truth. And we will experience freedom in our eating, freedom in our living, freedom in getting rid of the dieting mentality or the obsession with numbers and weight and the size we are. Barb has us in her day 15 go into a social eating Bible study, and she's got some great hypothetical situations in her Bible study. So if you do that, if you actually go through her Bible study and her questions there about these hypothetical situations, you can kind of prepare in advance for some potential settings that you might be in where you might experience the temptation to eat outside of your boundaries. And this is really what I want to encourage you with this week. What are some potential social settings that you might find yourself in where you will be tempted to eat outside of your boundaries? Plan in advance. What will you do? What will you do to be willing not to? Bible study, renewing your mind. You could set the timer on your watch to go off every 15 minutes so that then you can, oh Lord, I dedicate what I'm doing right now to you. Those kinds of things can be very helpful. Setting yourself up for success, strategizing, making your environment one in which you can be successful if you have any opportunity to do that. So anyway, in that social eating Bible study, be sure you work through her questions or hypothetical situations in advance. I have an example of this, and that is tennis. I'm on several tennis teams, and we often eat together after the matches are over. And I found myself just yesterday, for the first time in a long time, mindlessly eating chips and salsa. I was not hungry. I was just watching a match finish, and I think I had some nervous energy going on, and so I munched. And, I didn't eat very many before I realized, wait a minute, here's an example of a social setting where I'm with other tennis players and they're visiting, and some of us are watching the matches that are continuing to go on, and I'm just mindlessly eating. Now, I could have strategized for success if I'd thought about it ahead of time. Frankly, I haven't been vulnerable to that for a while, and so I didn't even think ahead. I didn't plan ahead. Now I know better. What I could do is plan to not go up on that area. There's a little area that's a deck where we keep the food during the matches. Instead, I could go down courtside and get a seat down there if I wanted to watch the match. Or if I wanted to visit, I could stand off of the deck where there are chairs and things off of the deck, and I can visit with people. So I can actually provide myself with a boundary so that I don't break a secondary boundary, so I don't break my primary boundary of 0 to 5. Anyway, I just want to encourage you, do those questions in day 15 and come back later this week for my set of questions on preventative eating. So this week, keep renewing your mind, do the material of Barb's in day 15, and review the material you have done so far in the previous weeks. See if there isn't something that you could do again if you would like, or review what you've done. Kind of evaluate. Is there an opportunity here for, kind of recommitment? And visit the blog, as I'm going to be asking you questions that will hopefully bring this material home, both this week and I hope to next week as well. We'll have a couple of weeks that are a little bit lighter at the blog next week and the week following, I think. I'm not sure, I'm getting my dates mixed up. But anyway, we're giving you a chance to kind of finish up the material, review the material, bring it home, ask questions. If you haven't been doing the Weight Loss Bible Study, you could do, it doesn't have to all be done at once. You could do 3 of the days now before our new study starts on May 6th. In any event, I hope you'll stay faithful. Let's continue to try to learn how to do this struggle well. We will not be perfect on this side of heaven. And that might even be something to renew your mind about. I will not be perfect this side of heaven. My eating will not be perfect, but that's okay. I can keep persevering. I can keep pressing on. I can do it for the glory of God. And that He takes delight in. Anyway, talk to you soon.